Good afternoon. Welcome to KOVIKI Talk. Brief explanation about what KOVIKI Talk is. KOVIKI Talk is a series where we talk about all things COVID-19, but we do it from the Pacific Islander perspective. So it's 2.5 years in.
Wow.
We're still talking about COVID. We try to be as timely as possible. So when it was time to get tested, we talked about testing sites and how important it was. When it was time to vote in a pandemic way back in 2020.
Wow.
We talked about how to do that safely, how to get your mail-in ballots in, how to do all those kind of things safely in a pandemic. And when it was time to get the vaccine, we talked about where to get it, why it's important, the mechanics of it. We actually had two Pacific Islander doctors on to talk about the RNA process. And now at 2.5 years, we're talking about, where are we at right now? We have some survivors on the show, and we're going to talk about what's important now. Is it just in a rearview mirror? Are we still in a pandemic? And what's important? How do we remain safe in today's environment? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Our first guest is Veavea. Let me back up. This episode is paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And our first guest is Veavea. Neo has done a lot of different things, and dating back to the Vietnam War was just ending when you became
World War II.
a board-certified cosmetologist.
Oh, there you go.
Just one of the many things that he's done. He is the founder of Utopia, an LGBTQ Pacific Islander social group that focuses on uplifting, promoting, and positive outcomes for the PI LGBTQI community. In 2008, appointed by Mayor Gavin Newsom to the San Francisco Citizens Advisory Committee. In 2012, he was appointed to the San Francisco Human Rights Commission LGBTQ Advisory Committee and served for 1 year. In 2018, we were part of this run. Neo ran for the Board of Supervisor in District 10 in San Francisco. And most recently, 2019, appointed by Mayor London Breed to the People with Disabilities Council and served 1 year. Neo is now working in the Tenderloin and doing his community work there. We actually talked about that with him on the most recent FICA podcast. Welcome, brother.
Well, I sound really impressive, but
You are impressive.
You are.
I was like, who's he talking
I
about?
am impressed.
I'm impressed.
It's a pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here.
Our other wonderful, stunning guest, Linda Masoli, was born in San Francisco, raised in the Bay Area and American Samoa, CCSF pandemic graduate, mom of 4, grandma of 4, glamma of 4.
Okay, that sounds better. Yeah.
Yes. Daughter, sister, wife, mother, fly, glamma. She's an entrepreneur, mentor, and mentee. She loves what she does by helping families and businesses get access to justice and security that everyone deserves. She's a COVID survivor, but also a caregiver for her husband after he suffered or is still continuing to heal from severe COVID pneumonia and his rehabilitation. Welcome, sister.
You all. Thanks, brothers and sister. So happy to
Nice
be
to
here.
see
Thank
you.
Great to be here. Great to see you all.
It's wonderful to be here and to talk about this, right? Because I think that, COVID fatigue, we were talking about COVID fatigue in 2020.
Right.
Like late in 2020, there was this talk of, can we maintain this? And we went all the way through 2021. And here we are knocking on the door of September in 2022. And, there are still ways to remain safe. There are still family members and loved ones that are recovering from COVID. The three of you are COVID survivors.
Yeah.
And I know Naki's had it at least twice. So it touches the lives of our family and our community. And I think because of the comorbidities that our families and loved ones in our communities experience, like diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, hypertension, those kind of things, there is a lot for us to learn coming out of it. But we kind of want to talk about where are we at today? How are we staying safe? How are we staying aware? And, kind of what we're going to do with the next steps forward. And obviously, I think that, you don't develop things like normally diabetes, hypertension, those kind of things until you're a little bit older. You're not in your 20s when that's happening most of the time. And that's the age group that we're talking about is ourselves.
Right.
And how do people that are more likely to suffer from the comorbidities that I talked about and have those health concerns, how do we manage that at this point? We did talk about the vaccine and the importance of those kind of things, but for the most part, most people that were going to get the vaccine have gotten the vaccine. We still talk about that, but what do we do at this point? So I wanted to talk to we wanted to talk to Linda and Neo about their experiences and kind of what COVID is. What does COVID look like today? And I think we'll throw that to Sister Linda. And how's COVID in your life at this point?
Well, at this point, thankfully, it's not at our doorstep right now, because I would definitely have to rewind though and take it back, because our little family, my husband Kennedy and I have 4 children, and our little family was hit with COVID, and we basically were at the tail end of 2020 thinking, wow, we got through this. I mean, thank you, Jesus. I think we're going to be okay. We had hope that, wow, we made it through without getting sick. And, meanwhile, the horror stories were playing out for the previous months of just how serious it was. We weren't eligible for a vaccination. Back then, you had to be a first responder. It was a very select group, a certain age group. And so we were just praying that, we would get through until it was time for us to go ahead and take care of that. Not just for ourselves, selfishly, but really for others. That's how I looked at the vaccine, was that, if I didn't get it, then that meant that I could possibly get COVID. And, what if I was asymptomatic and all of a sudden giving it to others? And so I kind of did it with a servant mindset, that I'd rather get it so that I wasn't a spreader, someone that would just affect somebody else. God forbid my grandkids, and they go to school and infect their teacher, So, but how it is right now, to answer your question, Carl, is I'm still very respectful of it. It certainly humbled my family. We know it's for real. And when it hit American Samoa and then Samoa and the other Pacific Islands, I just prayed that it wouldn't ravage our small islands, because I know they don't have the resources we have up here. And you saw how bad it was when it hit over here. So thankfully, right now, everything's good. But, that could change in a minute. We know that, right? I mean, there's the old little monkey thing around the corner, perhaps, that might be coming and spreading. So just grateful and mindful of the potential. I think that was a huge wake-up call. I know it was for our family, that something just changed like that.
Neil, and I know that recently COVID has affected you in the work that you do. Talk a little bit about your experience, and then how late, you know what I mean? Like a lot like Linda had talked about is, I kind of feel like I'm beyond it. Like I've dodged it, and then situations change. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, if I could just go back, during the whole pandemic, it was like with Linda and the media, the way they portrayed it, like people were dying left and right, and you're going to go on a ventilator. And I thought we dodged it. I thought I dodged it, 2 years. But during that 2 years, I did go into a deep depression where I didn't want to be around anybody. And I think some of my friends kind of take note of that, because it was scary, and I get a job for the city and county, and I'm outside, and 2 weeks into it, I get COVID. I felt, I just kind of felt really warm, and I was like, I'm not feeling like me, So I took a rapid test on a Friday, and boom, it said COVID. And immediately I thought, wait, I'm vaccinated, so it shouldn't be that bad. And it wasn't, because I was vaccinated and I got 1 booster. And my symptoms, my family were saying, well, yeah, you're kind of strange. I mean, my appetite increased. I was always hungry. And I'm like, well, is that part of the, the whole COVID thing? Because I was eating constantly. But I was fatigued. I was tired. And then after 7 or 8 days, it was like back to normal. It was almost like just having a cold, but a hunger cold. I mean, I fed myself like crazy and a runny nose. So I am so thankful that, the work that we were all doing at the time and educating ourselves that the vaccine is very important to get, especially for me in my 60s and diabetic. When I saw the double line of the negative, being positive, I just went into a frenzy, like, oh my God, am I going to die? Am I going to stop breathing? But I think because of the vaccine that I had gotten, it really saved me. And I wish that, people my age would really consider getting vaccinated, because like Naki had it twice, once before the vaccination, which was horrible because we were all just in tears and just thinking of the worst, and then after, right, you got your vaccine. So the vaccine, I think, saved me and gave me a peace of mind. And sure, I'll glow because now I'm being told I have to get more vaccines, monkeypox, just all kind of vaccines my doctor is telling me. And I'm like, dude, just give me a layout. I'll take it home and vaccinate myself. I mean, it's just like, the vaccines are important.
When you got it, I knew how careful you had been. I know that all the precautions that you had taken, and you have some people that, like, it's literally not a thing, right? Like this is false, fake news or whatever, that they just don't believe it at all. On the opposite end of the spectrum is Neil. Like, Neil was like, he was in his house, he shut the doors, like he was washing, and he was doing all of the precautions. So when you got it, I was like, see, that gives you an idea of how careful you can be and still end up getting this virus.
It's a scary thing. And I'm, like I said, I'm thankful we got vaccinated when we did, because it could have been a different outcome.
Linda, we know that, well, I know because but Kennedy had caught COVID, and can you tell us about, like, walk us through when he got it to how you guys are doing now?
So when we thought we were skating through and we were spared is when it actually then, Murphy's Law, right? It hit our doorstep. And that was the December of 2020. Mid-December, my husband went to go volunteer at the church down the hill. They were doing some renovations to the pastor's house, the Fife's house. And he went with his brothers, and they were working. And then he came back, and he got a phone call from one of his brothers saying, hey, dude, I've been coughing. I'm going to go get tested. I think you should. And he felt fine. And he just happened to mention it to him. And I go, yeah, well, maybe you should get tested, and he goes, well, let's wait till I feel something. And then, like, the next day he started feeling something. And guess what? He got it first. And then I got it. My two young adult children got it. Thankfully, my granddaughter was spared, but our whole house was really sick with it. You guys, this was before vaccine. So
before the vaccine,
it hit us hard. I mean, you talk about, I felt like I got hit by a truck, just so achy, where you try to just move and catch one spot in the bed where you're okay, good. Okay, I can sleep. It was that painful. Even though you were on Tylenol and everything. We all started getting better, and we were all isolating in separate rooms. And I had FaceTime Kennedy. He was upstairs in our master, and I was like, babe, what do you want to eat? You want saimin? You want oatmeal? And he kept coughing and couldn't stop coughing, and he could barely talk. And so that's when I knew, wait a minute, got myself up. You know how you get energy when you have to, when you get, what is that, Carl? You know the name of that, adrenaline. That kicks in. You just like, okay, and got him to realize he needed to go into the ER. And Naki will back me up on this, guys, well, let me change first and take a shower. dude, no, let's go.
So
It
now,
literally took him 30 minutes of stopping almost on every stair. We had like 50 stairs to our bedroom just to stop. And what he was trying to do, you guys, was just to try to catch his breath. Oh, sorry. Catch his breath, and he never could. So I just kept trying to get him in. So finally got him into the car, got over to ER at Kaiser, and as soon as they saw him, they did the oxygenation test, and boom, he was immediately admitted. And we didn't know at that day that that would be a 3-month and 3-day hospital stay and rehab for him. Kennedy, I looked at my calendar just to make sure. I was like, when did he went on the vent? About 15 days later. That whole 15 days, he was trying to breathe with every mask conceivable.
Wow.
They had different levels of oxygen mask, and so he just kept trying and fighting so hard. And I remember back in those days, we were having a 2D kind of conversation through a screen. We couldn't go over there to be sure that his care was good, that he had everything he needed. We had to do it through an iPad. But you know what? My philosophy, it's like it could have been worse. What if there wasn't even any iPad?
right.
But we kept talking through the iPad, trying to encourage him, pray over him. And I appreciate all you three right there in the studio, but everybody else chiming in, and all of our friends, and even people that didn't know us, just heard from one of our family or friends that prayed for him. That makes a difference, when you have that many people praying. He fought through it, but right before the week he was going to go onto the vent, I had another thing. This is what happens in life. Things happen, and you've got to be almost like a Steph Curry. You got to pivot when you can. And my mom ended up passing away in American Samoa on December 27th, 2020. She lived a wonderful, full life. She was 94 years young. But to also then have to deal with putting on a virtual funeral, not being able to go back home. The island was shut down. Why? They didn't have any COVID. And I totally respected that.
Yeah,
I get it, man. I was like, so it was closed then. My sister was also stuck up here because she was doing medical stuff, and then COVID hit and the island shut down. So my poor niece had to put on a whole virtual funeral, and it was beautiful. Like I said, it could have been worse. We were able to have a virtual stream and be there as much as we could. But Kennedy's battle, and I'm sure people listening might have lost someone that went in and never came out of the hospital, that went on the vent and never came off. I respect you all for the pain that you've gone through. For Kennedy, he was on the vent for 19 days. He sure tried for 13, I think it was about 12 days he tried just to not get on it. Because remember back then, and even now, right? It's like, wow, I got to tell y'all, make plans. I mean, the doctor told me, do you have your funeral stuff together?
Oh, wow.
Because the stats are when you're on that vent, most likely you're not coming out. And they didn't know Kennedy, though, right, Becky? They didn't know your cousin.
Right, but what got me is Kennedy is so healthy.
Right.
Like he's a runner, he walks, he plays sports. And I really think that had he not been so healthy, that I'm not a medical person, but because he was in shape. Because he was in shape, I really believe like anybody less than as healthy as Kennedy, I don't think anybody would have been able to have made it through it.
I think that was an eye opener for a lot of people because he was seen as so healthy. He was seen as so vibrant and energetic, and then it was very public. I mean, he was part of. There would be go lives and those kind of things, and it was like people saw what he was going through in the battle he was having, and I think a lot of people thought exactly what Naki's saying. It's like, wow, if Kennedy,
there's something we can laugh about. Talk about go live. It was during my mom's virtual service, and we had Mariah, my daughter, was on the phone telling Kennedy, go on mom's Facebook and then press, like giving the play-by-play instructions to get on the darn thing. And what does somebody say? All of a sudden we saw somebody going, "How are you, Kennedy? Good to see you." And I'm like, what's going on? I'm trying to watch my mom's funeral, right? I'm like, don't bother me. I'm trying to focus. But what's going on this message I'm getting? He went live and the camera was on him in the hospital bed. But at that point, you know, he was, remember that? It was so funny, but he was just, everybody was so happy to see him. But yeah, you're right about his health. I mean,
I
it's a
messaged
God
Naki.
thing.
I messaged Naki and I was like, Kenny's on. And she goes, what? And so she got on the live and she's like, I think he's trying to watch something else.
Yes.
Because he was looking the way he was
Yeah.
looking at the phone. But
He was
it
trying to
was
watch
that
the live.
look, that real in color, in real life look where people were
He was
like, oh my
alive.
gosh.
I mean, what a miracle. He was
Yeah.
alive. So for us, yes. I mean, I look back previous to him getting sick, it was, we lived right up above the Cow Palace. And so Brisbane, the walk around Oyster Point was our walking place. And he would go faithfully, like maybe 5 times during the week, at least 4 for sure, and power walk about 4 to 6 miles a day. And he would even go when it was misty. And I'm like, no, I'm not going. I don't feel like my hair getting all. And he go, I'm gonna go. I go, okay, go ahead, babe. And that was a God thing, you know, because he was really training for this event that he was gonna have.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So, you know, he got out March of 2021. And we're so thankful, you know. Could it be worse? Absolutely. He could be not here.
Right.
But he left with scarring in his lungs due to that COVID pneumonia. It just attacks your lungs, the very delicate, you know, if you don't know, take a look on Google or something, what your lungs look like, and the little branches and all the little fine filaments in there and all that. Those are all scarred. He's left basically with 60% lung capacity. That's what his pulmonologist told us for an adult male his age. But, you know, God is in control. Your body's a miracle. It adapts, you know, and he's back at the gym. He's back shooting hoops and coaching his kids and grandkids. Amaya was, our 7-year-old was just in a little baseball league, Junior Giants, and he's coaching her, you know, so we're grateful. But it's been an incredible journey and life-changing, definitely life-changing. So that's why when we were eligible for the vaccinations, of course we took it. I mean, it's no joke. It's absolutely real. Absolutely real. So if someone's still holding out, I want you to self-examine. Just don't do it for yourself. Do it for the people you love.
Exactly.
And I got to tell you, our kids, you know, we have a young adult children, and they had their philosophies on it, and they finally got theirs done. And really, it wasn't because of what their dad went through. I mean, they were there right up close, but it was okay. You know, am I going to get a paycheck and work or not do this on principle? And then what? And so it meant, hey, I got to get it done so I can work and provide for my family. That's what really opened up their eyes. So look at that, you guys. Even a family that has gone through it, like immediate family, and that might be somebody listening right now. Do it for somebody else, maybe not yourself, but do it for your kids or the family members that you have or your coworkers. And, you know, take that responsibility. That's all I'm going to say on that. I don't want to be preaching.
Right.
But
No,
yeah.
No, and I think
life
too,
changing.
you know, the rhetoric behind the whole COVID, you know, everybody has an opinion about the vaccine and what it's going to do to you. And, you know, and it's true. You got to make that decision. Is this going to be the right decision for me? Am I going to spread it if I get it? You know, so
Yeah.
sometimes the media, if you listen too much to the media, it really kind of clouds your decision as to what you're going to do. Right. Like Carl, just get educated and make sure you have all the facts, you know, because I know that's Carl, and then make those decisions.
Yeah.
And think about your family and think about, like I said, I'm in that age area, you know, 65, diabetes. If I didn't get that vaccination, who's saying if I'm going to be here or not? Right.
Yeah, I think that we talked to a lot of younger people in the younger generation that said, I'm not really afraid of it. Like, I'm not at all, but I don't want to come home and bring it to my auntie or my grandparents or my parents. So I'll get it. I don't, you know, literally had a kid on the show that was like, don't believe in it.
Right.
But I have it. Like, I don't believe in the vaccine. I don't believe in COVID, but I got the vaccine so that if I'm wrong, I'm not bringing it to my elders
Yeah.
because
Thank
they're the
you.
ones that would actually hurt. So that was actually an inspiring show. The kids that were on were joking about it. You know, they were laughing, and one of them's like, "Yeah, you don't believe it, but you got it, huh?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, I do."
Yeah. Well, so what a lot of the points that we're trying to make is that the unvaccinated adults are nearly 5 times more likely to be hospitalized with COVID
Right.
as those who have been vaccinated and boosted. And the vaccine reduces the risk of COVID for, adults.
Yeah.
You don't, our parents, our grandparents, and trying to protect our grandkids.
These are good examples of unvaccinated. Kenny went, right? Vaccinated, Neo didn't end up going. Unvaccinated, Naki had it. That was one of the most touching times through the whole entire pandemic. And I think Neo's with me, was dropping off food at Naki's
Oh
house,
my God.
and she couldn't come downstairs, so she had to wave from the window.
From the window.
Oh my
And
gosh.
we're out on the street, and she's waving from the window, and we're not on the phone. We're just like, all we can do is see each other. And
Yeah.
those, and then like, dropping off food at Leah's house, and where you can't, we're a hug, kiss, greet,
Group,
right.
that's
Yeah.
we're not away from the window kind of community. And I think that, those are the things that hit us from a cultural standpoint. And to your point, Linda, is, if somebody's in the hospital, that in a Pacific Islander family, there's
everybody
somebody
shows
spending
up.
the night to
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
sure that, if you need a cup of water, I'll go find you a cup of water. If you
Yeah.
need the nurse, I'll go get the nurse. Like, there's somebody in the room, if
Right.
not multiple people in the room
Yeah.
the entire time. And to
Right.
not be able to do that. I mean, there was Pacific Islanders were like,
Yeah.
no, I'm good. I just want to go in the room. And no, you can't. You're dropping
And
them off.
perspective's everything, isn't it? Like, from our perspective, we're like, man, we want to be there. We
Right.
need to make sure. Can you imagine the patient perspective? After
not
Kennedy
having
came
it.
out,
Yeah.
we started asking, babe, tell us, do you remember what do you remember? And, he just was like, I remember just calling, going, help, like,
Oh.
sometimes we'd be on the screen and we could hear like like in the rehab place, especially, there was an elderly person. You could tell they had an elderly voice, and she's like, help, help. And he goes, that's no joke. He said, because staff is so short staffed and
Right.
1,000 ways, you're not always being seen immediately. So, I mean,
Right.
from our perspective, we're like, yeah, we want to be there and help.
Right.
Imagine the patient perspective. Where's my family? Can I at least get a chip of ice?
Right.
Yeah.
We thankfully were able to go in, me and my son Jeremiah, who happened to be home from the off season from Canada. Because there was no season. So see, things happen for a reason. The season was canceled because of COVID. So he was home, and the doctor allowed us to come in.
Nice.
As Kennedy was leaving Kaiser and going to the rehab. She goes, you can come in the day before and he'll leave. And I was just like, thank you so much. And we went, boy, did he look scruffy. We came just put lotion, all those little things that you can't do.
Just a little
there.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His skin was so dried, loamy his legs, just all the little things that we forget, those things matter. That
They do.
human touch that you guys were talking
Yes.
about.
And just to see your family, the mental
we don't want to
health.
go back to that. No.
I remember someone that was in the hospital during the COVID. You couldn't have your family members there, and their daughters. I'm just not going to say this family, not going to mess up the hospital. Their daughters knew the security at the hospital. And spoke to the security, and they let them, sneak in to their mother, to see their mother. And the nurse came in and they said, we're so sorry. And she said, no, just stay as long as you want. And because the nurse told them, I don't have the capacity to take care of everybody's need. Like, I would probably see her once every 2 hours. So they were busy then too, plus the staff was getting sick, or some refused to work. So
I think that's why a lot of people failed, is they didn't have the human touch, and to make sure that they needed everything they could get. Yeah.
We had a Samoan man on that was hospitalized, who was intubated, and we were talking about this, your family not being able to come in, and there was a Tongan nurse, and she knew what he would be, what would no be normal for him would be to have the family there. So she just saw the name, the last name, came in, gave him a little extra care, let him know, and talked through where he was at. Definitely treated him different than other patients, because she knew culturally he was missing, his family
That part
being
of it,
there.
the family.
Yeah.
And so, just another Pacific Islander going, look, I know you're used to, you were expecting your family to be here. They can't be here. So, I'm here. And, but those are just
God.
heart-touching pieces of
Yes.
seeing the spirit of the Pacific Islanders, talking about a virtual funeral. If you would have said that 9 months before, oh, you'll have to do a virtual funeral, we would have went,
Yeah.
what the heck?
Yeah.
Right.
What is
Or
that?
we talked about Manu Fo's graduation, and it was a drive-by graduation at her house, but it was the we're going to find a way to show our love and our appreciation for our loved ones, our family, our community, to see what we all did to get through that and kind of maintain our own mental health was really inspiring to see the the ingenuity and find way, like, I'm going to show this person I love them, so I'm going to figure out how to do it. So I think that the really the gist of the show is, how do people 50 plus manage COVID at this point? And there may be people that need to hear what Linda's talking about that haven't, because I think there's a really small percentage of people out there that are still able to be swayed by some information. I feel like there's just this one end that's dug in their heels, and it doesn't matter if their mom passes away from COVID, like, they're not going to believe in it. And then there's people that already got the vaccine, but there probably are people that need to hear, these stories and this information, especially Pacific Islanders, that, maybe it does sway a decision from somebody that hasn't gotten it yet. And that can hear the words of, people that have gone through it, people that, have gone into the ER and had to leave a loved one there. All things that's probably one of the biggest things that really we just shook our heads at all the way through the pandemic, was that we talked to, people who they dropped off their loved one at the ER. They couldn't go in. That's the last time they saw their loved one alive, was walking into the ER. Just, heartbreaking stuff. Glad to hear. So before we go any further, very glad to hear that Kennedy's vibrance and his zest for life is, still there, spending time, getting to the gym, doing the things that he loves. And doctors don't know everything, right? They know everything medical, but they can't tell someone's heart, someone's spirit, and someone's energy. So he's still an inspiration for all of us to be
Very
energetic,
much.
get out there and be healthy.
Thank you. Yes, we're so thrilled that it changed. He wasn't the same hunky guy that went in there. He lost like 50 pounds. I think I found it, but he lost it. And he's happy with that. Oh no, he watches what he eats. He's like your mom, Neki.
I know.
They're always going to be in shape and fit and take care of themselves. So
yeah,
they're definitely an inspiration.
He looks great. We were like, when it was going on, we were so concerned, because we're like, but Linda can't be in there. And Mariah usually would be, Mariah would go get his water, go get the doctor, and so it was really scary. And like you said, at that time, people were saying that once you get on the ventilator, they're telling, even the doctor is telling you, are you prepared? And so I think, Kennedy's faith, like, I think our whole family was praying every day, and we were checking it with Linda every day. And plus he was just healthy. We were like, yeah, he'll be okay. He's healthy. He's been taking care of himself. And so I think
roller coaster, but yes.
And
we didn't share every bump with y'all, but prayer sustained him and us. And I'm thankful I didn't have to go to a job to have to focus on that. I had one of the best years in my business. Who would have thought? I wasn't even tracking any promotion or, it was just crazy. It was a crazy time, but, God puts us through things, y'all. And I'm not sure what faith anybody is listening, but I just want you to know, sometimes we have to be wounded before we're healed.
Right.
And, it just puts things in a different perspective. I know when the pandemic happened, I know, Neil, you just was very vulnerable in saying you got depressed. I actually I took it as an opportunity because just things kind of really slowed down, almost in slow motion, right? And so I decided I'm going to finish my college education. And I ended up getting my city college degree. I'm so happy with that. It was so fun to go back to school right before they shut everything down. I had actually had started. And Mena was one of my classmates. So that was fun. I got to just have I tried to just, be more growth oriented during that time.
Proactive.
Yeah, I learned a bunch of new stuff. So, but yeah,
That's so awesome.
It's so interesting I went back to college in 2006, I think, but it's so different. School's so different. At that point, when I went back, we were actually in class and I was in a group, and I remember being in the group and they're like, there's this big paper and presentation that we had to do. And because of, I'd ask questions in class, they're like, look, we'll do the paper if you'll present it. Because the public speaking piece, like that's all the kids didn't want to do. They were like, look, we'll do all that stuff if you'll do the presentation.
Yeah.
And from my end, I was like, oh, absolutely, this works perfectly. But it's the different, being at school at a different age is a different perspective, because I remember when I was 19 or 20, last thing I wanted to do was talk to 5 people, more or less, the entire class. So, but being around young-minded people was refreshing. It was refreshing to see people out there just learning and, starting life off and those kind of things. But a class after you've been in, done work for decades is it's just a different perspective. Because I was looking at kids going, I remember being, that not wanting to do certain things.
Not wanting to be there.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because you got other things to do when you're 20.
I think for me, when I went into the depression is because during the pandemic, before the pandemic, we were doing a lot of events, a lot of community events. I was always out there. I was Monday through Sunday, there was something going on. Pandemic hits, and then I'm just sitting in my room.
Oh, I see.
And it's like, no more FICA, no more community speaking, no more nothing.
It was an abrupt change for you.
It was. And I immediately nosedive. And I should know better because I've done mental health, right? Like, no.
It's different when it's yourself.
It's different when it's yourself.
When it's you, it's different. And you're so social. You were in groups all the time.
I had a pity party. It just like a black cloud just came over. And I just didn't want to be around anybody. I said, okay, if this is it, it's me and my pillow, my bed, and that's it, and I'm just gonna lay there.
Neil, I saw you pivot. Neil, I saw you pivot though. We go through it, and then you started doing hot Siva virtually. I was like, that is good. So I saw a lot of people around me.
What brought me back is you have to force yourself to get out, because I was on a spiral to not come back. But you're absolutely right. And thank you for that. If it wasn't for like hot Siva, I was like, I need to do something. So I started doing it virtual, online, in front of a camera.
That was awesome.
And then that's what you got to do, and hopefully this will get out to people. Like, it's not the end. And especially Kennedy's story. I mean, you're just kind of anticipating, is he going to make it? But there's the will to survive, right? And family to support, and prayers to be received. And look, he's back to where almost 100%, but you can beat it, and thank God, thank community, thank friends, who are there for you.
Those are the things that will change your perspective, though. I appreciate life more since cancer. Like, I took a lot of things for granted before you face mortality, before you look at like, oh, wait a minute, like I'm only here a finite amount of time.
Right.
Like I'm not here today, and then I'm going to come back and do it all. Like, oh, if I don't, this year's not a good year, I'll do it over again next year.
Yeah.
Once that year's gone, it's gone. And so, much the way you're talking about Kennedy is like to be appreciative and be just have gratitude is such a gift. And sometimes it takes, something like COVID, not necessarily even getting COVID. I mean, anything, but a life-changing event can either be something that breaks you, or it can be something that makes you have a different perspective and go, wow, I'm more appreciative of stuff.
Hello, life-changing events. You 2 examples here of fighting through all the adversity that you've had to go through, plus COVID, cancer, COVID. I mean,
Yeah.
talk about inspiring, right? And I get to hang out with these guys, and I needed to take something from that, like stop thinking about it's not going to be okay. It is okay, because from the window of crying, oh my God, that was
I know, I'm
horrible.
so sorry. Like we were talking about it earlier. I had COVID before I got vaccinated. And it
Right.
was when you were talking about Kennedy taking 30 minutes going up or
Up the
down the stairs.
stairs.
That was, I was taking a breath and just like my lungs were burning. I'm not even thinking that I had COVID. I was just I'm like, okay, I can get over this. But that reminded me of walking up because we have stairs coming up. It reminded me of walking upstairs and just trying to grasp for air. And I was like, oh, I'll be okay. Just take my time coming up the stairs. But I totally felt Kennedy on that.
Yeah.
Awful.
And he isn't like, so you have a condition, just like, Carl, I see your journey. You share a lot on the social media channels about, you're educating yourself on it and doing different things and learning and growing. So did he. Went and took a class. It was a pulmonary rehab class that was over 6 weeks, and you could take a guess. So I went to most of them if I didn't have something important, that a meeting or something that I couldn't change. So I attended both of them, and it was interesting to see the wide dynamic of age range. The demographics was all over the place, and but yet he was the only one that had lung damage from COVID. Everybody else had like what is that called? COPD.
COPD.
Yeah. But everyone had a lung issue. So where we just take it for granted,
Right.
breathing, we just take that for granted. They don't. And he learned so much about pacing yourself. When you're doing everyday tasks, making the bed, we could take that for granted, They have to just pace themselves. So yeah, really eye-opening. And
those are
their perspective.
Those are things that, like, when I cough and I can't, just when I say I can't stop coughing it, but it's like you got something in your throat, or you, I don't know, swallowed wrong or something, and you cough and cough to clear it. Then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I need a deep,
right,
let me take a deep breath. And to not be able to take that deep breath, like you're saying, like, I'm just trying to catch my breath, and not be able to draw that deep breath and be able to get that. I can't imagine, like when Naki's talking about it, or you're talking talking about that for Kennedy, like, I don't do that. I'll find myself, like, if I need to stop being nervous, if I'm like nervous for some reason, I'll take 2 or 3 really deep breaths, and it settles me down. But I'm able to do that, right? Like, to be able to draw deep breaths consecutively is something that, I take for granted. And if I couldn't do it, I probably wouldn't take it for granted.
Yeah. So, we had to move. That happened in our lives, and it's a very, he has to have oxygen on at night and all that. 15 stairs up and down just to our bedroom. That was hard, especially when he first came out. So that's why I had to move across the water here to Concord. My budget was like, okay, I don't want to leave South City. Yeah, right. It was like, okay, my rings are going to get a little bit bigger because I was looking for a ranch style house, right? No stairs. You know how the footprints are in Daly City. And so, it's so
stairs everywhere.
Yeah. And it was like crazy market. It's not like it is now. Anybody buying now, congrats, because, it's cooled off a bit. But back then it was just a seller's market, and we were on our 18th offer for a home. And I was like, this is not happening on this one. It's a sign. Okay, I'm going to get a clue and just wait. And it happened to be right around the corner from his brother Sam, and a beautiful ranch style home. And they accepted our offer. So we were just like, thank you, God. So yeah, now we kind of moved away from our kids, and they come visit, but it's just me and him. And, it's kind of like a new chapter, like that C&K song, Life's Different Now,
Yeah.
But we love it. And I'm just so thankful for the time that we had together.
Oh, that's amazing.
And no stairs. So
yes, that's a big.
Just saying, lung issue or no lung issue, them stairs.
Well, that's so funny. My mom used to always say, if we get out, we don't need stairs. And I'm like, no,
Boy.
you're gonna go up these stairs, Mom. And now, I'm at that age, like, damn, these stairs.
Perspective.
Right.
Yeah, for
Most
sure.
definitely.
I'm so happy that he's better now and with the
Yes.
whole family. Like, yeah, and I think the thing that people don't realize, like that the vaccine is free. You can
Exactly.
the vaccine is free
Yeah.
and you can get it, I think, as early as 6 months to whatever
Wow.
age as you are. So it's free. You can go to vaccines.gov.
There's people all around the world that wish they could wish they
Right.
could pay
Exactly.
for it. Like,
Yeah.
it's not, this is, free,
No
accessible.
barriers here for us. Yes.
That's a first world problem. I'm not getting it because of X, Y, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
There are countries that either have like cheap knockoff vaccines that aren't as
wow.
effective,
Right.
or just can't, the access isn't
Don't
the
have
way that it is
access.
here.
Yeah. So yeah.
We're very lucky.
That's the
We're
reason
very
why
lucky.
it didn't really blow up in American Samoa. I don't know if y'all get that, right? They had a very aggressive vaccine campaign there. And so it didn't ravage the whole island because most of the island was vaccinated.
Right.
And that's amazing because
That's
we only have
awesome.
what 70,000-80,000 people left on American Samoa. So
Right.
can you imagine if it did hit our
Right.
island?
Yeah. Well, look
and
what happened with the measles. The measles.
Oh yeah. When
you
it was
know,
in
yeah,
Kodu.
yeah.
the same thing. People weren't getting the shots.
Right.
People
Yeah.
weren't, the vaccination rates weren't high. And that's something that I think that if you're in the mainland, sometimes it's going to be hard to understand. Like, if you're in, I don't know, Utah, and there's too many cases there, then you can hustle people over to Colorado, or you can hustle people over to Wyoming. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
there's states nearby. On an island, if
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
resources get overwhelmed,
There's nowhere you
there's
can
not
go.
a next,
Right.
there's
Right.
flights, but we know how
One
tough it is to do
hospital
things.
in American Samoa. Yeah.
Right.
My niece, my sister's daughter, everybody's gonna know who that is. That's okay. Melly works in the hospital. She's a nurse there, and they're so understaffed,
Oh,
so
yeah. I
understaffed.
can
They
imagine.
try to do the best they can with what they got and work really long hours, just trying to. And so we were so worried, and she goes, "No, Auntie, it's not as bad as it could have been."
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the worst is over there. Thank goodness. They
Thank
had a lot of
goodness.
people vaccinated.
Can't wait to go back.
I know.
Yeah.
Me too.
Get some
So I
good
went
food.
back. I got to tell you guys my little brief story about. I went back January of this year, 2023, to do my mom's 1 year and 1 month
Wow.
memorial, because the island was opening, right? So
Right.
I got on a flight. Me and my sister actually, she had been stuck here for 2 years. She lives there. And we, back then at the beginning of this year, you had to go to Hawaii, and there was a lot of barriers for families trying to get back home that were stuck.
Right.
You had to go to Hawaii for 5 days. Now I can't complain. That's a beautiful, wonderful thing for
Right.
me. But if you don't have a lot of resources, or unless you had Ainga there to stay with,
Right.
5 days is 5 days in Honolulu. That's expensive. But 5 days in Hawaii, and they didn't say you had to quarantine while you were there. So what do we do? Eating and shopping, and then you had to report in to Ala Moana at this vaccine place for your test. Sorry, for your test, you had to take like 3 tests before you left
Wow.
Hawaii to even arrive. And what was crazy about the testing site is it was like old home week for everybody. There was this huge line of everybody going, "Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you!" Everybody's
Oh.
hugging. They hadn't seen people for 2 years. The folks that live there. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't, hello. I'm still kind of, self-conscious. And guess what happened to my sister? Her and her husband ended up testing positive
Oh.
there
That's
in
right.
Hawaii. It was just the start of the Omicron surge, that one was super contagious. And about 43, I think, passengers tested positive,
Wow.
weren't able to go on that flight. And then it was like, reading these little results, right? My sister goes, "My app's not working. My app's not working." I'm like, "Give it to me. Give me your phone." And it was like Jerry Springer, "Dorothy, you are positive." I was like, I threw the phone to her. I go, "Get
Right.
away from me. I don't want to be positive." And mine came back negative, and I was like, "Well, I'm going." I had
Yeah.
planned. I got to go do Mom's thing. I'm sorry you're not coming. And anyway, so got to Samoa, and oh my gosh, bless their hearts. So you get off the plane then, and they had the Ainga buses lined up on the tarmac. And remember, I'm going to date myself. I know y'all know this. Remember that movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where they pretended there was a virus there, and they had all these spacesuits on,
Right.
like, that's how the workers had to dress to receive
Oh, wow.
a hot 80-degree, feels like 90 humid.
Right.
And they were sweating inside their masks, but they were so very careful because they didn't have COVID yet. I don't just poor people, and shuttled us off to the hotel. So the beautiful Trade Winds Hotel. You had a couple of choices: Trade Winds or this other place, and I just went to the Trade Winds. It's close to my mom's village. So that was like 5 days, and it was really they fed you, just like overfed you. They were so generous. How South was, big old plates of food 3 times a day and all that. And so I looked at it as a little sabbatical. I had my laptop. I was able to do some work, and it was really beautiful, but you couldn't leave your room. Then I was like, when are you testing us? We got to get out of here, right? Oh, yeah, we're going to test you the day before you leave. They tested us the day before we were getting out, and I unfortunately came back positive.
Oh.
And I was like, wait a minute, do I feel sick? No, I don't feel sick, because I was vaxxed, right? I just didn't feel much. So they said, well, we're transferring you. And it was so funny. My good girlfriend, whose family runs that hotel, Kathy Halleck, I said, oh my gosh, I'm positive. They're sending me to some facility. She goes, oh, it just opened. Take everything from the hotel room with you. I went, what are you talking about? Like shampoo, soap, the blankets. I was like, are you sure? She goes, take it with you. That's a brand new facility. They had to build, and thankfully the government funding, I guess, build this wing of a quarantine facility. And y'all, it was like a woman's dormitory. I'm not.
Oh my goodness.
It was scary, but you know what? My attitude was, it could have been worse. I had AC. I had my own little room. I had my own bathroom. Hello. I mean, it was clean. I had a fridge. I had Wi-Fi, right? It could have been worse.
Perfect.
Right.
But it was 10 more days.
Oh no.
Yes. But again, it was it was so funny, being in a quarantine in Samoa. It was like all of a sudden the day before we were getting out, I saw a man carrying a bag of his kangame, his laundry. And I see him walking, and I'm like, and so I had to call, and the poor person has to come down to my room in all the gear. They have to put on all the gear to come talk to you. And I said, did I just see one of the guys go do, is he doing laundry? What's going on? We can go do laundry. Oh yeah, you can do your laundry. You have to walk from here all the way around and then do your laundry and then come all the way back. I said, what? If I did that, I would have done laundry every day.
Just to get out. Just to get out.
But I says, can I just put the laundry in and then keep walking? I mean, it was like being a prisoner, y'all.
Oh my God.
I was going to go do my laundry, and the sun, I was like, oh, the sun. The sun feels so good. But I did my laundry and I had to come back. But anyways, it could have been worse, but I totally get why they had to do that and be so very cautious, right?
I think it's obviously
to spread it out.
Seeing Kennedy go through what you went through probably helped you go through that.
This should be a piece
way
of cake.
worse. Yeah.
That's okay. I just needed duct tape. I needed to put my lava up on the door for a screen, for a curtain. For a curtain. Duct tape solves every problem. But and then got out, and then it was beautiful to walk around with no mask. Everybody was, healthy.
Oh, nice.
It was amazing. And did my mom?
And it's safe. Yeah.
And it was safe. Yeah. That was really strange to go through that. But unfortunately, and maybe fortunately, it got there. I'm sure, the families that lost loved ones, it's unfortunately, but at least there's a little bit of quote unquote now normalcy there, right? So that it's not, nobody's being quarantined and a lot of families are able to go back home.
Nice.
Imagine being stuck away from home for like 2 years.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I couldn't imagine.
That would be a really interesting story for you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so many people were
Ah.
stuck here for a couple of years and couldn't go back to Samoa and had to find jobs.
I was gonna say, to support
to
themselves.
support themselves. We spoke to a few people who had to get a job and get an Airbnb because their family, they were, were feeling like a burden to their family. So
Oh
to
my
live here
goodness.
for 2.5 years,
Mhm.
it's crazy to
Was it?
me.
We were talking to one that there were like 5 little ones in the house. There
Oh,
were, like little ones, and
Yeah.
you were kind of like, your wife's going to be upset when just so you know, when you get home, you've been gone for 2 years with 5 little ones in the house.
Oh my
You
gosh.
got your chores. You're going to have the balance of those chores
Yeah.
for a few years.
it definitely has affected so many families.
And so everybody that went to Samoa with you, did they have to have the vaccine and the
Yeah, you definitely had
okay.
to have vaxxed and booster if that was, I think booster was back then. Yeah,
Yeah.
early year. Yeah. So yes, and you had to upload everything. It was not easy, even for someone that's a little bit tech savvy. So
Yeah.
I
Right.
really felt for some of the elderly travelers. At least, we have usually big families, right? So they had to have a niece, nephew, or one of their kids help them figure it out. Yeah, but thankfully, I think that they don't have to go through that anymore. So
Well,
Yeah.
all the extra measures and precautions paid off, like so that you can
yes,
tell the numbers are
Yes.
the proof of that.
yeah,
Which is
Absolutely.
and the Samoa, I think it's open now, right?
Yeah.
Is it completely
Samoa's,
open?
well, Doris is here,
Yes.
so I think
Oh
travel
yeah,
back
yeah,
and
yeah.
forth.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's open.
it's open.
Yeah. Mhm.
Thank God that the
It wasn't even
Thank-
open between the islands when I was there too. So my
Oh,
mom's
so you
Oh,
couldn't
wow.
go to,
who
you couldn't go
lives
from American
no,
to
my mom's
Italy?
sister who lives in Samoa, and my niece and my cousin Monty, they weren't able to come to my mom's 1 year old. It was
Oh,
closed.
hey.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
closed.
Monty is in Western?
Yeah, she lives in
Oh.
Polu with my auntie Etty, my mom's sister.
We did go visit her when we were in Upolu.
Yeah, oh good.
In Putsasi?
Potsasi, yeah.
Yes, we went to go visit her. Me and Fiti and
Nice.
Chris.
And did you look out from that little mountain? They're kind of up a little bit to the
Yeah,
ocean.
it's beautiful.
That little
It's
island.
beautiful there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
it's a
love
little island off
Western.
the coast.
I know I call it Western Samoa, but it's just Samoa now. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's beautiful. I prefer it better than American Samoa.
For real.
Yeah.
I lived in both. I lived 2 years in American Samoa and 2 years in Western. And even though they're 30 miles across the ocean, it's just a world of difference. It's really a
Difference,
trip.
right?
Big time.
Yeah, big time. Yeah. I
Yeah, but
enjoyed
I'm
both.
glad. I'm glad that the islands didn't get hit because I believe COVID would have
Devastated a
wiped.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, wiped out a lot
devastated.
of people.
Now, didn't Fiji have a really bad I don't have this. I should have looked it up or something.
Yeah,
but
they
I
just
think they had a bad time with it, right?
their numbers started going up. They reported 972 cases last week, which is a
Oh,
lot for a
that's a
small
lot.
island. And so we were supposed to be in Fiji last week, but because of the numbers and the restrictions, that when we booked the ticket, you didn't have to show your vaccine card. You didn't have to take a COVID test. And like a week before, they said you needed to
Everything
show
back.
proof.
Yeah.
You need to take the test and get COVID insurance. And then the numbers started rising. And I was like, our immune system, we can't risk anything. So we just chose to postpone it for possibly another time.
I think that's why.
Yeah. And I don't want to risk it. And I don't want anybody else to risk it. That's why I really encourage people to really take the vaccine and the booster, especially people that are 50 and older.
Yeah.
It's just our immune system is not, and it's dangerous for us to get, especially at our young age, and it's
Yeah.
free. You know what I mean? The
Free
vaccine
is the key word.
It's free. So if you haven't gotten it, it doesn't matter if you have insurance or not, it's free. It doesn't matter if you're a citizen of the United States or not. The COVID vaccine and booster is free. So there you go.
Do you guys, maybe somebody might be tuning in that just doesn't know how to get it. Would you guys help them figure that out? Can they call or email you or something or reach you on?
If
you
there
we go.
Yes. Oh, there you go. Minna has it on the bottom. But you can You can go to find a booster or vaccine near you. You can go to vaccine.gov and then put in your zip code, and
Right.
it'll give you resources for your location, or get
Yeah.
a hold of us and we can give you the information. Contact your doctor. Like if you have any questions about the vaccine or booster, contact your doctor. Don't listen to us. Listen to us. We're giving you our suggestions, but really ask a healthcare worker, doctor, nurse, clinician, and they'll give you the right answers or
Information.
answer your
Yeah.
questions. And if you need questions answered, you can go to cdc.gov/coronavirus for more information. And there's tons and tons of information online.
Tons.
You can
Tons.
Google. Vaccine.gov has everything that you need to know. And really, we're just trying to save lives. We're trying to do everything possible
Yeah.
that we can, because we lost so many people during the pandemic from, COVID and Omicron and everything you can think of. And any way we can try to help you stay healthy and for someone who had COVID before the vaccine,
Wow.
and then I had COVID after, it's a huge, huge difference. Before the vaccine, I was like, I refused to go to the hospital because of the room. Once you get on the ventilator,
Yeah, you're
gonna
gone.
die.
Right.
That's all I had in my head. So I was like, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die right here in my bed. And so then after I got the vaccine and got COVID again, it's a big difference. I wasn't as sick. I had pneumonia, just like Kenny. My lungs were all jacked up. Major difference. So
Yeah.
I personally highly recommend you getting the vaccine before it's too late. Before it's too late.
Yeah, for real.
That's basically my 2 cents spiel. Anything you wanna before we let you go, anything you want to get out there?
Just hug people around you and be grateful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Neo. And sister, anything you want to get out there before we let you go? We appreciate your time. We just
Maybe just the acronym of ACT, ACT. What we're talking about here is you have choices, right? So action, ACT, action changes things. Action creates things. Action even ceases things. Maybe you're like, you know what? I'm going to stop listening to the conspiracy whatevers.
Exactly.
Right.
And just get it done so it protects the people that you love. Even if you don't get it, like I need to have it. Just
Right.
get it. I like the philosophy Carl shared with the younger person's thinking is, I may not believe in it, but you know what? I'm going to get it because I love the people that family or the people that I'm
And
close
that's awesome.
Yes, that's 100% true. I know if you have any questions for Neo, you can reach him on social media or email.
And Veavea@gmail.com.
And then Alinda, who is super entrepreneur, tell us a little bit about your business, and if people want more information, they can get a hold of you.
So I'm with Legal Shield and ID Shield. We offer legal and identity theft help for families and small businesses, self-employed. So we're the alternative to high-priced attorneys. So we definitely want to help you get access to your rights, get more of our families to have wills prepared. That's like your last love letter to your family. Get that kind of thing checked off your adult to do checklist. So we have a really affordable legal plan. I'm fortunate enough, if you work for the city and county of San Francisco, you get it as an employee benefit. That's my account. Thank you, Jesus. You get it at a discount through the city. If you're interested in earning extra income from home, reach out to me too. I'll show you how I've been working from home for the past 20 plus years. And so when the pandemic happened, I'm used to working from home. Other people didn't like it so much, or some just loved it and don't want to go back to work. So you might be interested in a side project. I'll help you. Thank you.
And they can reach you how?
Oh, you can reach me at, if you want to do email, you can reach me at, let me see, an easy one, Masoli Legacy. So my last name, Masoli Legacy @gmail. And then I'm on Twitter, L Masoli, or on Facebook, Linda Masoli.
Awesome. Thank you so much, sister. We appreciate both of you.
I
talking
appreciate
with
you
us.
guys.
Thank you so much.
And I want to thank Minna. I have to correct something. Minna was not at City. She wasn't my classmate. She actually was running the whole place. For help. It was Evie. Evie was my classmate, and we both
Yeah.
passed. Thank you very much. So I
Oh,
wanna
thank you,
correct that.
sister.
Well, Mena's running everything here too.
Mena
Right.
Okay, exactly.
She actually runs everything here. But we appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing your story, and that you continue to share your story of Kennedy and the experience of being a caregiver and of having COVID.
Right.
And you as well, Neil. Thank you for the work that you continue to do in the
I love you
community
guys.
and sharing your story. God bless
Thank
you
you.
both. Thank you so much.
Thank you.